Let's get a piece from Mark Ogden, regular on this show, but this is on his ESPN website. Man United assess De Zerbi Southgate should Ten Hag exit. Thomas Frank also mentioned in this piece as well. What was your take on this story, Sam? What stood out for you?
Yeah, what stood out was the diversity of managers. They're all very, very different candidates, aren't they, that play different kinds of football and have very different personalities. I suppose that's the nature of trying to appoint a manager right at the top of football, although United aren't quite there yet. Clearly, there seems to be a lot of opinions coming out of United and a lot of views, and it's the job of journalists to try and sort through and see which ones are going to have the greatest effect on the decision-making process. I mean, that's a big group of managers. Some of them are coming to the end of their contracts, like Gareth Southgate. Others, like De Zerbi and Frank, are under contract, and they've managed at different levels. They play different styles. So, it shows that I think, if anything, that United are still kind of crystallising under the Ineos control exactly what it is they want from their next manager. Always the issue with huge appointments like this is it is a little bit of a question of who is available or who can be persuaded to leave their current employment and what that might look like in terms of cost. So it does come down to timing, and it seems to me that there's still some very, very big decisions to be made there on Erik Ten Hag's future and how Ineos see United going into next season.
Judging by the radio phone-ins, a lot of England fans not having Gareth Southgate is the parlance, David, still despite his success with England, relative success. What do you think Manchester United fans would make of that? How likely Southgate winds up at Old Trafford?
Well, people you speak to who know Ineos well describe them as being very resilient and thick-skinned, and when they've got a clear idea of what they want, they go and get it and implement it. And yeah, they seem to have a good relationship with Gareth Southgate, as does Dan Ashworth, the incoming sporting director, once an agreement can be reached with Newcastle over his gardening leave and start date. And so Southgate, possibly is one in their thinking. You've seen sort of Graham Potter mentioned for similar reasons. He's well known to Ineos because they spoke to him about the Nice job. And then you see names like De Zerbi and Frank is a new one that Mark Ogden brings to the fore. He's also highly thought of at a number of other clubs. Liverpool have been mentioned in the past too. And there'll be more candidates as well if Erik Ten Hag is to move on. Erik Ten Hag will have a say in this as well, whether he wants to continue. He's got a year left on his contract this summer, plus the option to extend further. And nobody's really considered that, he will be part of this discussion too. And so we don't know anything for sure yet. But yeah, I've seen the same fan sentiment as you. And that reaction, if they are convinced that they need to make a change and they want to go for somebody like Southgate, which is not a foregone conclusion by any means. He's got the Euros with England. He'll have his own decision to make over whether he carries on with England for another tournament or longer or not. There may be some animosity towards it, but if they are absolutely convinced it's right and they fit into their system and there's trust mutually, and it's going to be a success, then I reckon they would ride the storm to do what they think is best for this project. But I just don't think we're anywhere near that yet. There are no decisions made as far as I know.
Interesting. Mark Ogden's piece, Sam, points to the fact that Bayer Leverkusen, when they lose Xabi Alonso, could be interested in Ten Hag. How do you see Ten Hag's future? Do you expect him to be at Old Trafford or have a say, as David says?
Well, he certainly has a say on where he goes next. Managers don't often have a say in whether they're sacked or not, unfortunately. But I mean, it's an interesting one, and it looks very much almost certain that Leverkusen will be in the Champions League next year. I mean, look, if we're really going to cut it down to basics, his contract over the season after this one is going to be probably a lot more valuable than what Bayer Leverkusen could offer him. So let's see. I mean, that would have to be a consideration for anyone, I think, in terms of what they earn. But I think whatever happens to Ten Hag, his reputation at United is strong. He's obviously been dealt a very difficult hand. He's certainly done some good things at the club, and whatever happens with United, there'll be a very good career for him after it. It just depends whether Bayer Leverkusen is his idea of a great move next, if it does come to pass that Ineos get rid of him.